Alright, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, before we begin, let's give all praise, all glory, all honor unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of greatness, whom surely do well. As always, say Shalom to the elect.
Shalom to the elect.
Right, there's three of your brothers here from the Heralds of Yahushai camp. I'm with the brothers.
Brother Maya Shala.
And my brother Isaiah, I'm coming back to you with another video. Lord, will it be edifying to the elect? Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And we wanted to get into tonight is concerning, right, a series I started with the brother Mashallah, right, proving the book of Tobit is canon according to the law, or from the aspect of the law, right? As with the book of Tobit, it have, prophecy within the book of Tobit that is written there. We could prove that the book of Tobit is canon, as in a prophecy of old in which Tobit would have told his son Tobias he believed all the words of Jonah, right? And that Nineveh was destined for destruction. Then
Tobias lived to see it before he died.
Exactly. Then from there, right, we saw some historical, or as we would call it, secular history written about in the book of Tobit, which tracks according to the Bible, as well as the northern kingdom were taken or carried away into captivity into Assyrian land, and the start of the book of Tobit details that, right? The northern kingdom, which Tobit is from the tribe of Naphtali, right? And he went into captivity with his northern kingdom brethren. Tells you of that at the beginning of the book. But, or rather, there is a law highlighted in the book of Tobit that was followed to a T according to the Old Testament and according to the writings of Moses, the Torah, the first 5 books, and according to the New Testament as well, right? Which 3 times we recorded it happened in the Old Testament. Of the first time would have been in Genesis 38 with Judah, Phares,
Onan, Phares, Zara.
Yeah, all of them. That was fiasco. Then it happened in the book of Joshua, or it was noise. It was fulfilled in the book of Joshua. It was noise in the ears of Moses in Numbers 27 and Numbers 36, as we're gonna get, and in the book of Ruth with Boaz and Ruth, right? This would then happen in the book or in the New Testament, or it would have been highlighted in the New Testament as I brought it up here. I'm gonna use the fact that it happened in the New Testament to then, be the prelude to the final
point.
The final installment of the lesson, highlighting it taking place in the book of Tobit, right? So before we go to it happening in the New Testament, we're gonna highlight the law, right, and then prove that it happened in the New Testament, which it happened through Joseph and Mary, right? So let's go to Numbers 27 and reading from verse 1. I'm gonna read the footnotes here.
Every time I go in, it's powerful, right? It's just slapping reincarnation. Good. Right, so the cross-reference Bible. Going to Numbers
27 from verse 1.
27 from verse 1. Okay, what Numbers 27 from verse 1, right?
Right.
In Numbers 27 verse 1, then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mala, Noah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah.
Right. So reading the second verse. Sorry. The second and the third verse, and then you jump into the
footnotes.
Footnotes.
Verse 2, and they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, verse 3, our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against Yahweh Bashem Yoshai in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no sons.
Read verse 4 as well.
Why should the name of our father be done away with from among his family? Because he had no son.
What? So you see the importance of having a son here, as we did highlight with the Edomites as well. Jeremiah 47 and 10.
Yeah, wiping out the name of the nation is just wipe out the seed line.
Once you wipe out the seed line, there is no way for you to continue on. It's no way, right? Because when you read Numbers 1 from 1 to 4 and then jump to 18 to 20 and Ezra 2 and verse 59, it highlights that your progeny, right, your lineage, your genealogy, is the other word is used?
Generation.
Pedigree. Your pedigree, all of these things are listed through who? The fathers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's continue on through the sons.
Which, as we see in here, when we read Matthew chapter 1, Luke chapter 1, you're going to see that the only exception here going to be Mary, and we're going to explain to you why Mary's name is there in the first place.
And right? even when women were listed, which is not an exception, it's just women were listed. All the women weren't listed.
Exactly.
They just highlighted certain women because they played a bigger role.
No, I mean,
in certain instances,
yeah,
than the other women that would not have been listed. But it's the men that carry the seed line.
Yeah, right? And so like point out, when I said we'll make the exception with Mary, is the fact that she was listed without her husband. Because again, when they would list the woman, they would say, well, what they listed the man and his son he had who was begotten of this one. Right? So the woman being listed was the reason. Again, they would still say, and still include the man, right? When they listed Mary in the Luke chapter 1, they didn't say nothing about Joseph, right? She named there alone. But we're going to explain to you why. Right, so like for the listeners, for the watchers listening, right, I made a mistake with the breakdown I was now given there on account of Mary, right? Her name was listed, but her name was listed alongside Joseph, and I was speaking about the chapter, Luke chapter 1 is actually Matthew chapter 1. I made a mistake, so like
yeah, and they
list him as though he was of no importance.
Yeah, yeah.
The most important part, to be honest.
Yeah, but this law is going to actually prove that this law proves disproves the virgin birth. This law proves reincarnation. It disproves the virgin. This law is very essential in understanding a lot of the Bible, right? So you could go back up to verse 1 in the Numbers 27 and read the footnotes now, right? Because the footnotes going to explain it point blank period, and we're going to see in Luke the 3rd chapter and Matthew the 1st chapter, you're going to get both of those things, that the genealogy or the record of Heli was actually continued on through Joseph. It would have to have been. And the reason he had two different lineages listed, but his name ends in both of them. Right.
The daughters, the footnotes are verse 1, Numbers 27 verse 1. The daughters in the orders for the division of the land just given, no provision had been made for females in the case of failure of male issue.
So in the case of your father having no sons and only daughters, what would take place, right? So now the woman clock this and they understand, hold on, father lineage about to done. And even the woman understood the importance. You tell a woman this today, they'll be emotional about it, but the woman back then understood. Without the seed line of their father, they cease to exist.
Yep, because again, they are part of their father's house. So when them is to die and they is to reincarnate, it's through some seed with either the father, the brother, the uncle. Is some seed coming from the father have to bring them back.
So if his lineage is died out, or he dies out, how are they coming back? They understood this. Because why would they care about it? That's a big question to ask. Why would they care about any of this if upon their death they don't come back?
Exactly. The reincarnation is not in play here. why is this a talking point, or why is this even in conversation?
Exactly. Go ahead.
The 5 daughters of Zelophehad therefore considered themselves as
You see, they
destitute.
consider themselves destitute. They know they had no place in history, not just in the land, but in history, without a seed line. Go ahead.
Having neither father nor brother,
See?
and being themselves entirely overlooked. And they agreed to refer the case to Moses and the rulers, whether it would not, whether it were not equitable that they should inherit their father's portion. This led to the enactment of an additional law to the civil code of Israel, which satisfactorily ascertained
Ascertained.
ascertained toward and
Amply.
amply secured the right of succession in the case of inheritance. This law, which is as reasonable as it is just, stands thus.
So you see, and it's not an additional law, right? Not like the Lord getting up and, changing the laws as he go along. This was always in play. Proof, Genesis 38. Right? It was always in play. The Lord just used this example.
Situation, yeah.
Right,
This was the first time the situation was ever brought up since the law was enacted, or the statutes and commandments,
Exactly.
the common statutes and commandments in Israel. Because again, when you read the book of Genesis, they make mention of it being the Noahide law. If you ever go into that, where it goes, and I believe, and I would like to hope I say the correct thing here. You could fact check me on this, right? But I would have asked AI this, could have been last year or sometime earlier this year. Was the law in effect during the time of Genesis, or before Moses created the law, right? And they would have said, yeah, it's known as the Noahide law, because I asked the question, it have certain instances in which, like example, when Noah offered sacrifices unto the Lord, where before these laws was created, they were operating as though the law was in effect. And it actually have a term for this, and you could look into it, right? So we would see now, when Moses came onto the scene, when his job, or he was tasked with introducing the law to the nation of Israel, a lot of the laws that Moses would have introduced to the nation of Israel would have been like almost like a reintroduction.
Similar to the Father's name.
Yes,
Father's name was always present.
It was always present. Which the Father, funny enough that I say that, the Father's name is literally the first law, the first commandment of the 10. Right? Thou shalt have no other powers before me. How do you recognize or call upon or establish that a God is there? You call him, or you reckon him by name, right? So the fact that the Father's name was always there is just proof and testament to the fact that the laws were always there. They just weren't there for a statute. It wasn't nothing written down or penned in stone, right? Thus, that was Moses' job, to reintroduce the morals or the ways of the sons of God, who are the Israelites, back into the earth by a statute forever. Right? The Lord would have said, these are the laws and commandments that they endure forever. Right? So this year, as the brother would have mentioned in Genesis 38, this was a law that was already there. But seeing it here in Numbers, the Lord used the situation to bring it back into effect. Right? So it's like he brought the law back up. Because again, who was in control of whether or not that man did die without any sons? The Lord. Right? He made sure that man only had daughters, and then he killed that man, right?
To engineer this
situation, to reintroduce back this law in the event a situation like this was to ever happen again. And we're going to show you in the book of Tobit it happened again, and in the book of Matthew it happened again with Joseph and Mary.
So continue. Numbers 27, the footnote reading from 1 now.
Alright. 1. On the demise of the father, the estate descends to the sons.
Correct.
2. If there be no son, the daughters succeed.
But the daughters succeed to what end? Go ahead.
How? If there be no daughter, the brother of the deceased inherit.
Right. So, the father's brother, right? Go ahead.
Which is the children's uncle, the daughters' uncles. Verse 4, if there be no brethren or paternal uncles, the estate goes to the grand uncles or brothers of his father.
Right.
So your father's uncle. 5. There be no granduncles, then the nearest of kin succeeds to the inheritance.
But
So
you know,
find
kingship.
somebody.
So you know, kingship is reckoned upon by men because they say it descends to the daughters. Well, to what end does it descend to the daughters? And when they go to Numbers 36, wait, sir, I'm go ahead.
Beyond this fifth degree, the law does not extend, because there must always have been some among the Israelites who could be called kinsmen.
And two laws back these things. The fact that the Lord said he's never going to do away with the nation of Israel, and the law of Jubilees. If every Israelite man was to enjoy whatever inheritance he got within the nation of Israel, and he cannot remove the landmark or the border, etc., etc. So, AK, a man in Israel owns 50 acres of land. You cannot, you know, take 50 acres from him and you take 1 acre from him or 2 acres from him. That entire 50 acres of land is his, unless he decides to sell it. And even if he does sell it, he gets it back in the year of Jubilees. So this law is to make sure that what? A man's lineage, a man, all his possessions remain within his lineage that is his, right? So now let's go to Numbers 36, because Numbers 36 proves, right, that the point of it going to the daughters is just for the daughters to marry another man, and that man will succeed to his lineage. As the only way he could do it, as we prove through the law of the husband, brother, and Deuteronomy 25 from 5 to 7, only a man could redeem it. Boaz in the book of Ruth, only a man could redeem it. As they call them what? King's men.
I was gonna make that point, but as they pick it up,
you see, King's men.
Literally gonna say literally that if the woman was able to do it, why call it the king's man redeemer? Yep.
Go ahead. Numbers 36, and read you see in the second verse. You see in the footnotes at the bottom of the second verse. Read that.
Alright, there is Numbers 36 and 2 the footnotes. The Lord commanded.
You see?
Yeah. Sorry, I was watching Deuteronomy. Sorry, go ahead. To one division of the tribe of Manasseh, a portion had been assigned eastward of Jordan, but Zelophehad was of that division to which an inheritance was afterward allotted west of Jordan. Yet, expecting the promised land, the elders of the Manassites now proposed a difficulty upon the adjudged case of Zelophehad's daughters. The account we just read in Numbers 27. If the females should inherit in defect of the male issue, and should intermarry with the other tribes, they would diminish the interest.
Meaning, if the females inherit the land and they go and marry a Judite man, Judah now has
lost some of the land, and that
exactly.
land goes to Judah.
Go ahead.
Which, if this should go far south, as the saying goes, eventually enough men dead. Think Judges 19 with the Benjamites. Imagine a war break out amongst the Israelites. Eventually, one tribe could end up
losing all the land
to
another tribe. Exactly.
And I feel that.
And then it doesn't even have to reach that point where there it could just be war. And Judah.
And think about the amount of wars the nation of Israel would have fought against other nations. If enough man die as judgment from the
sorry. Yeah. I was looking at the aspect of that. He just had to marry the daughters of the Manassites. Ephraim men marry all Manasseh's daughters.
And it had no seed among them. Yeah.
Which is unlikely, as we proved this. The Lord setting up all of this just for that to not happen. But let me say it did happen. This was a likely scenario, which the Lord is trying to prevent here. Go ahead.
And weaken the influence of their own tribes. Meaning no more land for the Manassites, right?
Go ahead.
And give occasion to future confusion and perhaps contention.
Which this would be a war. Israel warred for things. Israel warred for things far more grievous and far less devious than this. So this for sure would have started a war. Israel, even in the book of Joshua, they did go to war, the Virgin on the east side of Jordan, when they thought they was building up a wall.
When they assumed that they was committing idolatry.
Everybody was ready to go to war. The Benjamites was ready to go to war for some sons of Belial, right? Israel went to war for far less. So trust me, they would have gone to war for this. Go ahead.
The Manassites therefore referred the case to Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess our next one to add to, you see that going on even today. They're fighting each other for a block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the people in the ghettos, the average person you see in the ghetto is an Israelite. And this book proves it. Right? If you had the spirit, to be seen, if you had the eyes to see and the ears to hear, if not,
The
the
laws
laws are given
again.
unto you.
This law,
What I save a
what
lot
are
of men lives.
not just that. This law and the man of that law will come to your mind to prove that the people in the ghettos is Israelites.
Avenger
blood. Yeah, that is spirit. That's when will come in my mind. The Avenger blood is a perfect law to prove that the nation of Israel or the people in the ghettos is the nation of Israel.
Yep.
Point blank period. Them applying the law without even knowing they're applying the law. Now, is every single
aspect
reason
of it correct and all of that?
no, and is every avenging of blood truly just or was worth it? No, we're not saying that. But the fact that they
spirit
even
behind it.
the spirit behind it, that jakes. That jakes.
The
Go ahead.
spirit, the spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are the sons of power. Yep.
Go ahead.
And he, by the authority of power, annexed a clause which would effectually keep the tribes and inheritances distinct as long as it was observed. Heiresses were not allowed to marry out of their own tribe.
JC, yeah, the woman could have had the land and the possession, whatever, but it was just towards the end of what? Getting a man within she own tribe to continue on the lineage of her father.
The saying in the world. Just a means to end.
Yeah, just a means to end. So
the
don't think
means through which we get to the end result or point that we seek to reach.
exactly.
Yeah.
Though within those bounds, they might consult their own inclination.
Meaning they could have just pick a man closest of kin to their father within their tribe, but that's the most choice, right? With quotations, to have it in the matter, but they really had no choice, right?
I the precept right there.
Go ahead.
There's Numbers 36:5. This is the thing which the Lord doth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best. Only
Numbers 36:5.
36:6.
Oh, sorry.